My name is Maria Rosales Ramirez with the LA County Sanitation Districts. Today, I'm here to talk to you guys about how the water that you've used from your homes is cleaned. And we're actually going to do a fun demo showing you guys what belongs in the sewer and what doesn't. So let's get started. A little bit of background, the sanitation districts were formed in 1923 because in the old days, it was very common to discharge the sewage into the ocean, which is the big ill. Obviously, it was a health hazard for the environment and for the marine life. So this was stopped. Our agency was created to make sure this doesn't happen again. Over time, our agency has grown, and now we serve over half of LA County, 5.5 million people, as far north as Lancaster, all the way out west, close to Malibu, Valencia, as far south as Long Beach and the PV Peninsula, and all the way east to the border with San Bernardino. We've been doing this, since 1923 with an infrastructure that now includes 11 water treatment plants / water reclamation plants, and a network of 1,400 sewers that kind of spread all around LA County. So speaking of sewers, I feel like they don't get a lot of love, but they are very, very important. The sewers are the way that the sewage and the used water leaves your home and comes to us. So you are familiar with the drains that leave your homes, the businesses. Then we have laterals that take the sewage away into the local sewers that can be owned by the city or the county. And then they come to us in what we call trunk sewers. So picture a big tree trunk. We own the large sewers. So we own 1,400 miles of trunk sewers. That's like from here out to Idaho, all about LA County. They range in all sizes. This one's probably close to like 10, 12 feet. And we have a dedicated crew that takes care of the sewers because they need to do their job. They need to make sure that the water leaves the house and gets to us so we can treat it. So where does the water go? Today, we're going to take a virtual tour of the Joint Water Pollution Control Plant in Carson. If you're familiar with the area, this is the 110 freeway going south. And this is the Sepulveda exit right here. And our area is bounded by the yellow line. It's close to a little bit smaller than Disneyland, but this facility has been doing a lot for a long, long time. So let's see what happens here. Before we get there, we need to realize that the wastewater arrives with debris, with trash, because some people are out there are treating the sewers like they're trash cans, and that's a big no-no. So when the sewage gets to us, the first preliminary step, it's called the headworks. That's at the beginning of the plant, and we call these the bar screens. You can see them here. They're actually screens that kind of separate anything that's larger than the openings and only let the water go through. Any screenings then go through a compactor, and they're kind of like kind of smashed a little bit so that they can be disposed of. And now we've gotten to demo time. So make sure you grab your the supplies that we put, toilet paper, jars, and some flushable wipes. The reason we're doing the demo is to show you guys how some things that get put in the trash they kind of get in the way of the sewers. So I want you guys to do your part and not put these items in the trash. So you needed 2 jars of water. I labeled one toilet paper and 1 flushable wipe. And make sure you have lids on them. And also grab 1 roll of toilet paper, or one little square of toilet paper, and put it in the toilet paper one. And close it tight because we're gonna shake them. And you can also grab a little square from the flushable wipe, put it in your flushable wipe one, close it. And we are now gonna use our muscles and give them a good shake. The reason we shake them is because this is kind of like simulating the swoosh when you flush the toilet. And what you're gonna see is that the toilet paper is gonna start falling apart. And the falling apart kind of depends a lot on what kind of toilet paper you can use. You can have single ply, double ply, but just keep hanging in there. So, keep shaking it and shaking it. You can see that mine's already like falling into pieces, and that took like 30 seconds. Look, it's already falling apart. You guys can see that right there. Whereas the flushable wipe, it's right there. We're gonna give it a big shake, you're gonna see that it gets kind of foamy. That's because the flushable wipes have kind of like they're kind of coated in a cleaning agent. But if you keep shaking, it's not gonna fall apart. And you can try it. If yours does, that's actually a good thing. There is no consistency in what you can call flushable. But we're very excited to say there's actually a new standard passed to be able to standardize it. And just to show you guys, this flushable wipe has been in this jar on my desk since 2018. And I'm gonna shake it again for you guys. Shake it hard so you don't tell me I didn't shake it enough. And it's still floating there. So the lesson is flushable wipes or disinfecting wipes or makeup wipes or baby wipes, anything other than the 3 P's, pee, poo, toilet paper, puke, you're feeling sick, anything other than that doesn't belong in the toilet. And that's something you guys can do to make sure that you guys are helping protect the sewers. So with that quick demo, let's get back to our slides and see where our water treatment process goes. So we've gone from our trunk sewer, we go to our now primary and then secondary and then disinfection process. And this would be a standard process that we do to make sure that the water is cleaned so that it can be introduced into a larger water of body, in this case, the ocean. So primary treatment, we can see that that's a simple process. It relies on physics, on gravity, to separate the different types of things that are suspended in the water. Then we move on to secondary treatment, which we can see uses bacteria to eliminate the nutrients, and then we disinfect. So let's see how that happens. I see a lot of questions on the chat. Let's see, anything I don't get a chance to address, you guys have my email address and I will be able to respond throughout the week. So if I was a bird and we are flying over our primary treatment tanks in Carson, you would notice that they're covered. That's to prevent any odor nuisance. But the water here flows very, very slowly so that we can separate anything that is heavier than the water and anything that's lighter than the water. If I was to open the lids, this is what raw sewage looks like. Brown liquid with a lot of stuff floating around. And this is when you guys are happy that this is a virtual tour, because yes, it can smell, but you got to see what it looks like so you can appreciate how far we're going to come. So if I was to open the lids, you would see what we call a system of flight and chains, and pretty much anything that's heavy will sink to the bottom and we scoop it to one side. And anything that's lighter than water, like oils, fats, and wax, stays on top, and that's called the scum. And that gets kind of like pushed to the other side. By separating the scum and the solids, you end up with the middle water that has 60 to 70% less of the solids because that has been removed. From here, we move on to secondary treatment, which is a biological process. And you can see our reactors are covered. And then it moves on to a secondary clarifiers, which are these little white tanks right here. The secondary treatment process relies on bacteria. And I know bacteria get a lot of, a bad rep. Coronavirus is not helping, but there's actually beneficial bacteria because they eat all the nutrients, the carbon, the phosphate, the nitrogen that's present in the sewage. And once they eat it, it's kind of stabilized, so it's no longer a hazard. So these are the kind of microorganisms that are present in the bioreactors. They're kind of similar to the bacteria that are in our stomach that help us digest our food. So that's another example of like what we call the good guys, the good bacteria. So here we have a lot of bacteria helping us do our job. They only need 2 things, food and air. The sewage is their food source. What we also do is we pump oxygen bubbles around so that it can have all the air and help them spread around. So they're as happy as they can be. From then we move on to secondary treatment, which is what we call clarifiers. This would be step 2, number 2. And we've introduced bacteria, now we remove the bacteria. Very simple, we just let the water flow very slowly because the sludge, the liquor that the bacteria live in is very heavy. So that will sink to the bottom. And what we do is we just let the water flow and we just take the water from the top. This whole process, it really simulates how water is cleaned out in nature. We're just doing it in a concrete box. From here, we are now ready to disinfect the water. I mentioned that this water in Carson right now is being discharged into the ocean, but that doesn't mean we're not gonna, make sure it's clean. So we add chlorine. That's that smell that you get when you're in the pool arranging waters. That's that chlorine smell. The chlorine kills the bacteria and the virus, so that we make sure that it goes to the ocean clean, but the chlorine is actually eliminated by the time the water gets to the ocean, so our marine friends are actually safe. So after 10 to 12 hours, this is, you remember what it used to look like before? This is how the clean water now looks. If you were to visit us in person one day, I hope you could touch it. I call it the ranging waters in Carson, but it's for display purposes only. So how does the water get to the ocean? We have our joint water pollution control plant is 7 miles away from Royal Palms Beach, and connecting the two are 2 underground tunnels that have been carrying the clean water since 1958 and 1937, before you and I or Daryl was born. We had some very talented people build these tunnels, and we're actually in the process of creating a 3rd tunnel right now to help us alleviate these 2 existing tunnels. Let's see. A quick question is, where do the solids and scum go? Actually, the Joint Water Pollution Control Plant collects the solids and the scum, and they actually get treated as part of the composting. So it goes to our facility out in Kings County and eventually gets turned into biosolids, which is then used for composting and fertilizer for fodder crops. Okay, jumping back to this, the outfalls. So how does the water get introduced into the ocean? So this is what we call ocean outfalls. The ocean outfalls introduce the water to the ocean in a very slow sort of way. You could see what we call diffusers. They're these little tiny holes. We don't just like dump the water out there, but we have 4. They're 1.5 miles offshore, up to 200 feet deep. So they run along the bottom of the floor, the ocean floor. And here's a little video of what that looks like. So we have a little fish friend. The water's introduced very gently. The outfalls kind of like has become a little home for the animals. And if you've seen Finding Nemo, this would be where Dory and Nemo meet, and there's a little crab. So that's a little Easter egg for you guys. So we've been introducing, we've been doing this since the Joint Water Pollution Control Plant has been doing this since 1928, but this facility does so much more than clean water. It processes solids. Somebody asked where the solids and the scum go. So this would be eventually, not on site, but at another facility. It gets trucked and it gets turned eventually into compost. We also have a food waste recycling facility where we take organics and make actually end up making green energy, because we happen to have a power plant there too. So we make green energy as well. And then lastly, we also have a water recycling station. So this is kind of new. We're in the middle of starting this. We're in a pilot project on a partnership with Metropolitan Water District, who you just saw right before me. And just for you guys to know, the Sanitation Districts has been recycling water since 1963, and to date, we've recycled over 1 trillion gallons of water. That's enough to take, I believe, a 9-foot pipe from here to the moon. So that's a lot of water. So with that, I thank you for listening. I hope you guys remember the 3 Ps. And let me see if there are any questions I can answer quickly. But if I don't get a chance to answer your question, go ahead and email me at mrosales@lacsd.org. But now I'd like to hand it back to Daryl and Janelle, who are going to give you a tour of a water recycling facility. So with that, guys, have a great day. Enjoy your day.